What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Lucrative MMA betting show. This weekend we're talking UFC Kansas City. We have Carlos Prates taking on Ian Garry. The fighting nerds are getting a big step up in competition here. The gym everybody has been talking about this year may have another title contender if Prates can get past Ian Garry. But man, it's not going to be easy. We know Ian Garry took Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of the best fighters in MMA, to the absolute brink in his last fight. So coming off an L, the first L of his career, it's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back in this fight. We also have the always fun Michel Pereira taking on Abus Magomedov. Both guys owners of some brutal finishes in the UFC. We also have Anthony Smith on this card taking on the surgeon Chinese prospect Mingyang Zhang, as well as the always fast and powerful David Onama taking on Giga. So we have a very good matchup, or bunch of matchups for this Kansas City card. And since there was a week break last week, I cannot wait to get into this one. We have been absolutely flying lately, and I hope you have made a ton of money along with me based on my breakdowns. Last week we didn't go live on YouTube, but I went live on Instagram for 55 minutes and gave out a bunch of PFL picks completely for free, including Fabian Edwards to win at odds of plus 135 and Fabian Edwards to win via KO at odds of plus 700. We also cashed on a bunch more on that PFL card, so even though the UFC was off, we still been crushing it. Anyway, cue the intro and let's speak about this card and make some money. So welcome back, gentlemen and ladies. We have had a great run recently, as I said before the intro showed. You know, we've been on a crazy run, to be honest. I've won over 50 units in the last couple of weeks alone, and we are up massive in 2025. This has been one of the best runs in my MMA betting career, and I've been making videos every week during that run. So I've given out a lot of bets, a lot of predictions, a lot of good analysis, and judging by the comments I see all the time, you guys have been heavily cashing too. Before we get into this week, I do want to say, if you want to join my VIP, that's where the real money is. That's where you will cash big. I not only give out the main card predictions, but I also give out my official bets on the card. For the main card and for the prelim card, I also give out full card breakdowns, a bunch of stuff like that. So definitely suggest signing up for the VIP if you want to, one, support me, but two, support yourself, because you will make money. We've been at it for 6 years now, boys, and the trajectory has always been massively up. We go through upswings, downswings. Of course, we don't win every bet, but we win most bets. And over the last 6 years, we've demolished the game, won a hell of a lot of money. So yeah, Lucrative MMA betting if you want to sign up and support me. Without further ado though, let's get into the card. And the best fight on the entire card is the main event, and we will speak about that one. It is Ian Garry taking on Carlos Prates. So Ian Garry is coming to this fight with a record of 15 wins with 1 loss. Carlos Prates, on the other side, has a record of 21 wins and 6 losses. So it's quite interesting, their record there, and I want to get into that in a moment, but let's just check the odds. Ian Garry is currently a minus 130 favorite in this matchup, with the underdog price tag on Carlos Prates coming back at plus 110. So like I said, I want to speak about the records of these guys first, because, you know, off the top of my head, I would have thought that Ian Garry has the much deeper experience in MMA. Carlos Prates is seen as like this new guy to the scene, right? This striker who just happens now to do MMA. But that's actually completely far from the truth if you're looking at their records, because Carlos Prates has almost double the amount of MMA experience that Ian Garry has, which is absolutely insane. Think of that. He has more than double the MMA fights than Ian Garry has. He is a veteran in this sport. 21 wins and 6 losses is a veteran record, make no mistake about it. But what's also interesting is that he has a bunch of losses there. And as we know, Ian Garry has only 1 loss, his first loss coming to Shavkat Rakhmonov last time out, in a fight that he competed very well in a fight that he could have won with 1 or 2 minor adjustments, or not even adjustments, but a few difference in the sequences in some of those rounds where Ian Garry just lost the round narrowly. He could have won the round. He would have won the entire fight. And that's going up against the best fighter in the entire division. Now, something I want to say, and I want to dispel some myths that I've heard out there. So, you know, a lot of people after the Ian Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov fight was saying that Rakhmonov looked terrible, that he didn't perform well, and that Garry only made it close because of how Rakhmonov looked. People saying he was coming in with injuries and stuff like that. And I do believe that some injury did come out after, or some injury rumor or some news came out that Shavkat did have some injury. I may be wrong about that. I'm not going to check it. You can go and check it yourself. But the point remains that I want to make is that the reason Shavkat didn't look good for the most part is because Ian Garry made him look that way. Ian Garry makes everybody fight to close margins, sometimes even himself. And I'm going to get in depth on how he does that when I go into the stylistic breakdown. But let's put some respect on Ian Garry's name. Shavkat, going into that fight, had 18 finishes, no decisions, 100% finish rate. 18 times he fought and 18 times he won inside the distance. And now you want me to believe that the only reason he didn't finish Ian Garry, or the reason that he looked very, very bad in that fight and had a 50-50 fight with Ian Garry, is because he had an off night. He just didn't look good. It's nothing to do with Ian Garry's skill set. Ian Garry was 15-0 going into that fight. There's a reason. It was 15-0 versus 18-0. And although Shavkat Rakhmonov was a massive favorite, the skill sets were very close and it played out in the fight. We saw why Ian Garry was 15-0 going into that fight. Ian Garry is one of the best fighters in the division. So let's put some respect on his name. He made Shavkat fight a close fight. His skill set made Shavkat fight a bad fight. It wasn't that Shavkat randomly had a bad performance and it was nothing to do with Ian Garry. Ridiculous statement that I've been hearing from many people after the Shavkat performance. And I believe there was two reasons for that, right? The first reason is because everybody hates Ian Garry. And you know, there's some things that he has done that have been unlikable, and I understand that, right? But I don't give a crap about who I like and hate. I'm doing this to make money. I'm making money from MMA betting. I don't let my emotions get involved in it, or I do my very best to not let my emotions get involved in it. And I definitely don't let my dislike or like for a fighter get involved in when I'm trying to make money on them. So, you know, people hate Ian Garry. So of course people are going to come out and say, yeah, Shavkat had a bad night. And secondly, a lot of people bet on Shavkat because Shavkat was a favorite and a lot of people parlay big favorites blindly. And so people came out and basically said that Shavkat just looked bad because they bet him and they want to justify his bet. So I'm glad I dispelled that. And let's speak now about why I dispelled that. It's because I believe in Ian Garry's skill sets, because I believe he's a very, very good fighter. So Ian Garry and Carlos Prates, and we will speak about him in a minute, cannot be more different. You know, their styles could not be more different. Now, yes, some smart ass is going to say in the comments, actually, they could be if Prates was a grappler. What I'm trying to say is that on the feet, these guys fight completely differently. Carlos Prates comes from a Muay Thai background, right? So he's walking forward, bouncing a leg, trying to pour at you with a jab and throw heavy body kicks, brutal knees straight down the middle. He times his knees very well, very Muay Thai style where he's trying to distract you with the lead hand potentially or the hands and the elbows, and he comes through the middle with brutal knees. We see him do it against Charlie Radke, and that was a very brutal finish, a very, very well-timed knee. And it was because he was disrupting the vision with the front hand, which is what you see in Muay Thai very often. Whereas when you're talking about Ian Garry on the feet, he's not going to be walking you down, pouring at you with the lead hand, throwing big shots up the middle, one-for-one Muay Thai style. Ian Garry's going to be on the back foot, skirting around the octagon, and he's going to be landing his jabs, landing his low kicks. When you come into range, he's going to be trying to counter. He's going to be trying to land shots down the middle, of course. But he wants to be on the outside and play a more point fighting style. Now, there's pros and cons to both styles, right? Like the pro to Ian Garry's style is that he's a good minute winner because he's not necessarily always trying to land a killer blow. He's trying to win minutes. He's trying to break you down. And over the course of 15 or 25 minutes, he's racking up those points because he's evading, staying at range, landing shots, not getting hit because he's got such big length, always has a reach advantage for the most part, always has a height advantage for the most part, and has very good footwork. So he's winning minutes by evading, not getting hit, and hitting back, even though they may not be damaging and killer strikes. And then on the other hand, we have Carlos Prates, and the pro to his style is that he's walking you down and he's hitting you with big shots and he's trying to land that KO blow. Now, the negative to that style is that he can be losing minutes. So whereas Ian Garry is maybe not getting these big moments and big knockouts, he is winning minutes. So if it goes to a decision, he's probably going to win. Prates, he's losing a lot of these minutes. You know, we see time and time again where he's not really winning the minutes against some of these fighters. Even in his very last fight against Neil Magny, Neil Magny is doing damage at times and gripping him up against the cage and landing knees, and he's making it ugly, and he's kind of winning a lot of the minutes against Carlos Prates. But then what happens? Carlos Prates lands his big shot, lands the brutal shot to the side of Neil Magny's head, which kind of was reminiscent on Conor McGregor's knockout against Dustin Poirier. And we can look at Prates' fight against Trevin Giles as well. He's losing minutes there. He's getting teed off on the feet. He's getting boxed up a little bit for 1 and 2 rounds until he finally lands his killer blow. So that's what I'm saying. The styles are completely differently here, boys, you know, and we can expect that to happen in the fight. You know, when these guys fight, we can expect Ian Garry to be on the outside, point fighting, winning the outside striking, but then maybe getting cracked in the middle. I mean, we've seen Ian Garry hurt multiple times in the UFC now. You know, we saw him hurt on his very first fight against Jordan Williams. Now, look, he wasn't out, he wasn't dropped, he wasn't dead to rights, but his face was busted up and he did get cracked with a couple of shots there. We've also seen him brutally dropped by Song Kin-on, and if he didn't have good recoverability, he may have been KO'd there. So Garry has a great evading point fighting style, but he's still liable to be cracked on the feet. And man, Carlos Prates, as we have seen time and time again throughout his entire career, he has that off button. You know, he knows how to touch that off button. And what I mean by that is when he touches you, you go off. Your lights are shut off. And like I said, he doesn't have to rely on his punches. He has knockout wins via knee in the UFC, via his laser beam, straight hand. So this is such an interesting clash of styles. And before I go into exactly how the fight is going to play out, I want to mention the other X factor, and that is the cardio and the grappling, right? So we know that Ian Garry can go 25 minutes, push a hard pace. He did it in Cage Warriors, and he has now done it in the UFC, even though it was kind of a low pace against Shavkat. He was looking very good. Even late into that fight, the last round, he had Shavkat in a rear naked choke. And if he had a little bit better jiu-jitsu and had a little bit more reps in those positions, he probably would have had a rear naked choke finish against Shavkat Rakhmonov, like he would have had a rear naked choke finish against Michael Venom Page a couple of years ago as well. Actually, I believe that was only 1 year ago. I was at that fight live. So this guy can push a pace, right? He can throw a lot of volume and he can go 15, 25 minutes. We haven't necessarily seen it from Carlos Prates. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but we haven't seen it, aka it's an unknown. We have to go back all the way before the UFC to see him go to a decision, to see him go 15 minutes, because we don't know how he's going to look in a UFC fight. Now let's speak about the other unknown in Prates' game, which is his defensive grappling, right? And to see that, we have to go back and watch his one championship fights. Like I mentioned before, to see him go to a decision, we have to watch those fights, and to see him get grappled and to see his defensive grappling, we also have to watch those fights. So specifically the fight against Abdullayev. And this fighter is a solid wrestler from Dagestan who took him down basically at will and won the fight via decision based on taking him down. But I was actually kind of impressed by Carlos Prates in that fight. I mean, you know, he got taken down multiple times by a Dagestani wrestler, which is going to happen when you're a Brazilian Muay Thai fighter. But what he showed me on the ground was he has a pretty decent guard. You know, he was able to retain guard for most of that fight. He was throwing up submissions in a lot of that fight. He not only threw up arm bars, but he, you know, upper body submissions, upper body attacks, but he also threw up lower body attacks. So he rolled for leg locks. He tried to twist the leg of Abdullayev. And what that showed me is an understanding for the jiu-jitsu game, which is what you would expect for a fighter coming out of Brazil. But we have to see it on tape to know, right? And I did see it on tape. And by the way, that was long before the Fighting Nerds existed. That was back in 2019. We're in 2025 now, so this is 6 years later. Now he's training with some of the best grapplers in Brazil, like Caio Bahaio. The Fighting Nerds are surging, and I can only imagine the improvements he has made, not only in the striking, not only in the fight IQ, not only in the defensive wrestling, but also in the grappling. So this guy, you know, he's a good striker, but to me, he also seems like a decent jiu-jitsu player. Now, something else I want to mention is, like, I don't think Garry's style is the type of style to go out there and just grapple fuck Carlos for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, like Abdullayev did. You know, Garry, like I said at the start of this breakdown, he's going to be on the outside, kicking his legs, throwing the jab. He ain't going to be walking Prates down, walking into the right hand, walking into the front kicks, and just grapple fucking Prates like the wrestler did. So yeah, it's tough for me to imagine a scenario where Garry's just taking him down repeatedly. Now, do I think Garry can get takedowns? Yes, I do. I think Garry's got pretty good trips, pretty good judo throws, and I think that they could catch Carlos off guard, and maybe Garry can make something happen, you know, out of that. Now, boys, if you can't tell by my breakdown, 1, this fight's going to be a banger. 2, this fight's super interesting. And 3, I don't have the strongest take on this fight. You know, I have to admit, like, there's a lot of fights I come out here and like last week on Instagram, and I tell you, Fabian Edwards has a great chance of knocking out Impa, and I guarantee he's going to wobble Impa at least once. I literally said those words. The week before that, I had my biggest UFC event this year, and I told you a bunch of different bets that cashed. This week, I don't have a strong breakdown, but I'm actually going to pick Carlos Prates in this fight, boys. I think that Carlos Prates is going to have enough defensive grappling to stop the takedowns when he needs to. And on the feet, I do think he'll lose moments, or minutes, I should say. But I think that at some point in this fight, Prates is going to land a big shot. He's going to land either a killer blow or a blow that hurts Ian Garry. And that's going to be the end of the night for Ian Garry. I see this fight ending via KO on the Carlos Prates side. I have to think to myself, like, is Ian Garry more likely to win this fight via grappling? Or is Carlos Prates more likely to land a big shot? I think it's more likely that Carlos Prates is going to land a big shot, because I don't think Ian has the skill set to grapple Carlos to a decision for 3 to 5 rounds. He could edge out rounds with grappling late, but I don't think he has the skill set to do it for 3 to 5 rounds. So do I think he has the skill set to finish him? Honestly, seeing his lack of finishing ability against Shavkat Rakhmonov when he had the back, and lack of finishing ability when he had Michael Venom Page when he had the back, those two fights and sequences when he had the back in those fights are leading me to believe that he will not finish Carlos Prates on the ground. I didn't see slick enough jiu-jitsu for Garry. Yes, he can ride out the back and he can control the back, but he can also get reversed in those positions, as we've seen in those fights. And yeah, I just don't think his jiu-jitsu is slick enough now to finish Prates. Now, can he get a submission? Of course, like, he's probably the better jiu-jitsu guy here, but yeah, I'm picking Prates via KO. We'll see how it plays out, boys. I don't know if I'm going to bet this one. I will say that now. I don't know if I'm going to bet it. I'm not confident enough at the moment to bet it, but we'll see. It's going to be a banger of a fight anyway. The next fight on the card is Anthony Smith taking on Mingyang Zhang. So speak about veteran records. Anthony Smith coming into this fight with a record of 37 wins and 21 losses. A lot of losses for Anthony Smith. A lot of wins as well though, so shout out to him. Mingyang Zhang, on the other hand, has a record of 18 wins and 6 losses. Currently, they got the odds, and man, the odds kind of wild to me. Mingyang Zhang, a -525 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Anthony Smith coming back at +400. They're making Anthony Smith another +400 against another surging prospect who apparently finishes everyone. Is this Vitor Petrino versus Anthony Smith part 2? Is it? I don't know, man. Let's get into the fight. I'm not going to spend long on this one, boys, because this is a weird fight. I feel like it's a volatile fight, which the odds are not saying. I mean, when you have a -525, the odds are literally telling you this is not volatile. This is the opposite to volatile. This guy's going to smash his -500 favorite in a 2-horse race, a 2-man fight. But I honestly think this is volatile. Like, I think the line is wide here. I think Mingyang Zhang has obviously a good chance to knock out Anthony Smith, but man, Anthony Smith has been in these spots before and upset the odds many times in these spots before. And it's not easy to finish Anthony Smith. Like, this guy is a weasel, you know. He's able to last to a decision many times when he probably should have been finished. Something I want to say about this fight, you know, is that, and I think it's driving the line, is that Anthony Smith seems to be a little bit checked out of MMA these days. You know, he has a lot of stuff going on outside of the octagon, and he is regularly doing commentary and analysis work for the UFC. He even did it for the Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez pay-per-view. And if you remember the date of that, that was only a couple of weeks ago, and now he's fighting on the week. So, you know, he's meant to be deep into camp, and he's taken an entire day off, and I presume time off during that week as well, time off of training to get ready and prepare for the analysis work for the UFC's pay-per-view at Volkanovski Lopez. So one, that's not a good sign. If you was all in on MMA, you ain't being an analyst for the UFC 2 weeks before your fight. It's not happening, right? So I know that he's checked out a little bit. We see in the octagon performances that he's checked out a little bit. He's low volume these days, lower volume than he was, you know, against like the lead say. He doesn't look good. He's having these weird fights against Dominic Reyes. He just doesn't really do anything until he gets finished in the second round. I will say that, you know, despite all of this, I don't think Mingyang Zhang is at a high level to where Smith couldn't find a guillotine or a triangle choke or some type of submission like he has done to this level of competition before. But man, if Anthony Smith gets cracked on the chin by someone who hits as hard as Zhang, it might be night-night for him. Like I said, he's very good at surviving, but that's only like surviving the early shot. If you continue to pummel him and get him in a bad position, he kind of just shells up. You know, if you take him down or if you get on top of him from dropping him, which is what mostly happens, he kind of just turtles up, he puts his hand over his face, and yes, he's good at not getting knocked unconscious, he's defending, but the ref can just jump in and stop it, like has happened to him multiple times in his career. So, you know, I really think it started from that Glover Teixeira beatdown. You know, he got really, really badly beaten down in that fight, and since then he kind of been on a little bit of a downtrend. So, yeah, I'm going to take Mingyang Zhang in this fight. I'm going to take him via knockout in round 1. Not much to say about this one, boys. Mingyang Zhang knockout in round 1 is probably like even money or something. So they're saying it happens 50% of the time, and man, it probably does. You could even argue more. It just really depends on when Anthony Smith is. So Mingyang Zhang, KO in round 1. The guy hits very hard. Anthony Smith been hit hard many times in his career, and I think if Zhang lands on him, it could be night-night. So Mingyang Zhang, KO in round 1 is going to be my prediction here. For the next fight of the night, we have Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. So David Onama has a record of 13 wins and 2 losses, with Giga Chikadze having a record of 15 wins and 4 losses. Currently, David Onama is a pretty big favorite at -190, with the underdog price tag on Giga Chikadze coming back at +165. So this is a somewhat interesting fight. I don't really care too much about Giga Chikadze fights these days. It's not that they're bad, it's just like he doesn't compete a lot, so I'm not really excited by the thought of him coming back. A lot of his fights can be low volume, boring, outside kickboxing fights. For example, his fight against Alex Caceres, he can slow the pace down. He can make things a little bit technical, a little bit boring. David Onama is the complete opposite of that. This guy is a berserker. He walks forward, throws hands, throws his bazookas, aims to land that knockout shot with almost every punch he throws. Very physical, athletic freak in the division. So it's a good clash of styles, I will say that. Like, is Giga going to be able to slow it down, make it technical, make it a little bit boring, or is David Onama going to crash the pocket as he always does and land a big shot or make it wild like he always does? You know, something I noticed watching tape on these guys is how the hell has David Onama gone to a decision 3 times in the UFC so far? I mean, he went to decision in fights that should be -900 not to go to decision based on the fight. Like, if you go back and watch David Onama's fight against Romero, how the hell did that fight not go to decision? These guys are throwing big shots at each other, rocking each other throughout the entire fight, and somehow it goes to a decision. Then if you watch the fight, David Onama versus Nate Landwehr, Onama almost kills him in round 1, hurts him badly, drops him. And then in round 2 and 3, David Onama is getting cracked badly. He's even landing big shots back. Like, how that fight goes to decision is also absolutely insane. Even the Mason Jones one, like, he was rocking Mason Jones heavily, and Mason Jones was taking him down, grappling him. I mean, yeah, this guy went to a decision multiple times in the UFC, and it's kind of insane. And something that I'm looking at in this fight, I can't lie, is the fight doesn't go to decision. It's big plus money. You're talking +150s, +140s for the fight not to go to a decision. And like I said, if David Onama does go to a decision, it's always in a crazy fight. There's always a couple of knockout blows landed. And David Onama gets hurt himself. This guy, yes, he can crack you, but man, he can get hurt himself. He's been hurt by almost everyone he's fought. As I mentioned, Mason Jones rocked him a couple of times. Romero definitely rocked him a couple of times. Nate Landwehr definitely had him almost finished. And those were in fights that went to a decision. The other fights that didn't go to decision, like Gabriel Santos, for example, Santos is having big upside, smashing Onama at times, and then Onama lands a brutal uppercut KO. He's also got a submission win in the UFC, so the guy is pretty well-rounded, you know, and a lot of his fights finish a multitude of ways. Mainly it's by the knockout, because obviously the guy hits very hard. And one thing that Giga Chikadze does have, you know, he's getting old now, he's getting a little bit on, but one thing he does still have is sneaky power, sneaky vision, you know, sneaky way to land his strikes. And I think the X factor in this fight, which it is in a lot of Giga Chikadze fights, is like, can the other guy get on top? Because if Onama gets on top, Giga Chikadze is still a kickboxer to me. I know he's an MMA fighter, but he's still a kickboxer. In my opinion, he can get smashed on the ground if he gets taken down. Now, of course he knows jiu-jitsu. He locked in a dash choke against Edson Barbosa, ended up finishing him on the feet. But, you know, I know he's got some submission skills himself, but at the end of the day, I feel like Onama is way too athletic, way too physical, and probably too good of a grappler to not dominate Giga Chikadze if he takes him down. At least maybe he lands some shots from top position. I don't know if he's going to cut right through his guard like batter and submit him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he takes him down and lands big shots from top position that could lead to a sub or a ground and pound TKO. So I would like David Onama to go for the wrestling here, because on the feet, Giga Chikadze is still a great kickboxer. You know, he's been fighting kickboxing his entire life. He came to MMA a little bit later in his career, or to the UFC a little bit later in his career, but he's still a very good striker. So if you really want to dominate him and beat him cleanly, you take him down. So this is kind of an IQ test for David Onama. I think he has an easy path to victory if he takes him down. If he doesn't, you know, he's at the mercy of Giga Chikadze on the feet, and he could get a strike landed on him that puts him out. He really could. Giga could come through with a knockout here. I know it's been a while, but he could come through with a knockout. Ultimately, I feel like David Onama would also probably win on the feet. Eventually, he lands a big shot. But Giga's pretty tough on the feet, you know, although I think at some point he's going to get cracked. I mean, Calvin Kattar fight, he almost did. So that's it, boys. You know, fairly quick breakdown on this one. I like David Onama. I like him to get it done. I like him to get it done inside the distance. And I would even look at that submission line, because I feel like it's going to be a little bit undervalued here based on him hardly having any submission. So let's look at his submission line now on Bet Online. Yeah, so David Onama via submission is plus 750 on Bet Online now, which means it's probably going to be plus 8, 9, 1,000, plus 1,000 potentially on a bunch of different books. So yeah, I don't mind that one as like an upside play. Ultimately, I will take Onama to win this fight inside the distance, potentially by submission. Yeah, that's it. Next fight on the card is Michel Pereira taking on Abus Magomedov. So Michel Pereira is coming to this fight with a record of 31 wins and 12 losses, with Abus Magomedov having a split record of 27 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw back in PFL days. I remember that. I believe that was a 2-round fight. That's why it was a draw. So the line's pretty close on this one. They have Michel Pereira as a minus 130 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Abus Magomedov coming back at plus 110. So yeah, you know, there's been some money coming in on Abus Magomedov, and on the one hand I understand it, on the other hand I don't really understand it. I will say that this fight is kind of a fight of the gassers. Both guys are notorious gassers. Both guys get tired later in fights, and although Abus is coming off a late finish of Bruno Ferreira, make no mistake about it, this guy gets very tired in fights. So when you get two gassers who really only perform well in the first 5 minutes, it's very tough to predict the fights, because it's like, how long are they going to stay with a good gas tank for? You don't really know, right? So yeah, they're not really the type of fights I like to bet when both guys are gassers. I love to fade gassers. I love to bet the fights when the other fighter isn't a gasser, but yeah, it's not a type of fight I love to bet. I do think Michel Pereira has big round 1 upside here. I favor Michel Pereira on the feet. I think Abus is pretty slick on the feet, but I favor Michel Pereira. I think he has a massive durability advantage, and I think that he's probably a better finisher overall, as well as having a durability advantage, meaning that in the first 5 minutes, it's him who's going to be live to finish the fight. Now, yes, if the fight goes after round 1, like I said, shit could get weird, it could get sloppy, he could be finished, right? But I think early on he's going to win the round and potentially even finish Abus Magomedov. I think while Michel Pereira has some upside on the feet based on him having a big durability advantage and just being a bit more explosive and starts a little bit faster, I think that Abus has the grappling advantage here. You know, I think that Abus could potentially get takedowns probably in round 2 and round 3, because in round 1, Michel is not easy to take down. You know, Fluffy even struggled, and Fluffy is basically one of the best chain grapplers in the division at the moment, right? He might be fighting for a title one day. So, you know, I think that's pretty good from Michel to show some dominance on the feet there early, and, you know, able to stuff a couple of takedowns. Even when he was tired, he was getting back up to his feet quite a lot. So that's pretty good to see. But I do think Abus has grappling upside here. I think he's the better wrestler, the better grappler overall. And I think that in round 2 and round 3, he could get on top, consolidate position, and potentially dominate from top position if Michel gets a little bit tired. I just think it's going to be tough for Abus to get there, because I think round 1 he might get hurt. And then on the second hand, I think even if he does get there, I'm not guaranteeing he's going to get takedowns. I just think he has the upside to do it. So it's just a close fight for me, boys. I'm going to go for Michel Pereira. The reason I'm going to pick Michel Pereira is because I think that round 1 he has a good chance of finishing it, and I don't see Magomedov finish it in round 1. So if Abus wins, in my head, he has to come through round 1, but round 1 is the time where he could be finished. So yes, maybe he has big upside in round 2 and round 3, but we may not even get to round 2 and round 3. So that's why I'm picking Michel. And even if we do get to round 2 and round 3, it's not a guarantee he's going to have upside and he's going to win. He also gasses and he also slows down. And especially if he gets hurt in round 1, he just might not really want to be in there. I feel like he's a bit of a flake mentally, more than Michel Pereira. This is a very tough fight to call, guys. Ugly fight. I'm picking Michel Pereira in this one, though. I don't think I'll bet it, though. I don't think it's just not worth betting it. I have thought to bet it because the line came down, and I have thought to bet it. Right now, I just don't think it's worth it, man. Maybe I speak with some of my guys and they convince me otherwise, but I don't think it's worth to bet it. Maybe you play Michel Pereira KO round 1 or something. But yeah, pass fight for me, boys, but I will pick Michel Pereira to get this one done. The next fight on the card is Randy Brown versus Nicolas Dalby. Randy Brown coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins, 6 losses, rude boy. And Nicolas Dalby coming into this fight with a record of 23 wins, 5 losses, and 1 no contest, and 1 draw. That draw was against Darren Till, where he got absolutely smashed. Dropped with a solid elbow, but then came back like a beast and completely destroyed Darren Till in round 3. And that no contest against Ronson between you and me, horrible look, but we'll get into it. So currently Randy Brown's pretty big favourite at -230, and Nicolas Dalby coming back with the underdog price tag at +195. So yeah, first things first, as I spoke about that Jesse Ronson fight, it goes down as a no contest on his record, so we don't know what happened, but we do know what happened. Jesse Ronson smashed him, finished him, submitted him. It was a bad look for Nicolas Dalby. And I will say that he is in with a chance of getting smashed and finished in round 1 here. Randy Brown round 1 is +700 at the moment. Round 1 KO is +1100 at the moment. I advocate for a bet on both of those, right? You split the stake. Don't only bet the KO because he could get a submission. But yeah, I like Randy Brown in round 1 here. I think he has a good chance of hurting and finishing even Nicolas Dalby early. Nicolas Dalby has been caught many times early. He's getting older, he ain't getting any younger. And although he hasn't been finished a lot early, he has been finished early and he has been caught many more times early. And Randy Brown, he's going to catch you early. You know, he does it in many of his fights. And I think that's a good way to target the fight. But actually getting into the stylistics of the fight, it's a very, very weird fight because on the one hand, I feel like Randy Brown is just so much slicker than Nicolas Dalby and he can stick and move and stay on the outside. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do that for 15 minutes. Why? Because no one does that to Nicolas Dalby for 15 minutes. Nicolas always eventually closes the distance, get his clinch game going, knees up the middle. He has the weirdest breathing style I've ever seen in the octagon. It's quite a testament, you know, to Nicolas Dalby that this guy is still going at his age, in his 40s now, at a lighter weight class and winning a lot of fights and doing well in a lot of fights. I mean, that fight against Rinat Fakhretdinov could have gone his way, you know, and obviously Rinat just gets a lot of robberies in his favor, but that could have gone in his way and he was 40 years old, man. It's like, it's crazy that he's performing at this level, but it can't keep going on forever. He's not going to be 44 and doing it. I know that for a fact, right? Is he going to be 43 and doing it? Unlikely. Will he be 42? Maybe, probably not. It's very likely we're in the last 1 to 2 years of Nicolas Dalby's career. And what happens to these fighters when they get 40 plus and in the end of their career? They start getting finished. They start getting hurt. We saw it in the Rinat Fakhretdinov fight when he got dropped. We saw it in the Ronson fight where he got finished and he got dropped in that fight. And I think we see it again here. Like I said at the start of the breakdown, Randy Brown, round 1 is super live here. Even round 2, you know, it could happen. I think that if the fight goes 50 minutes, Dalby's going to have some moments, but I think Randy Brown's too good to let it happen to him. I think, like, you know, Randy Brown was doing pretty well in the clinch against Brian Battle. And I think that Dalby has to get him in the clinch in this fight to win. But I don't know if he can just keep it up. I don't think he can win in the clinch because Randy Brown has a solid clinch. Good elbows, good knees. He's got length. Like, there's too much in the favor of Randy Brown here. I can't pick against him. I'm actually pretty confident that Randy Brown gets it done this week. I'm actually pretty confident. Now, yes, Dalby spoils the party a lot. I just don't think this is the one. Randy Brown via KO is going to be my prediction. So boys, that's the breakdowns, but we are not over. We have come to the best, my favorite part of the show, the lucrative Wheel of Fortune, where you, yes you, are in with a chance to win 1 month free to my VIP service, the Lucrative MMA Elite Zone. The Elite Zone is where you get all of my official picks that have been crushing it lately and for 6 years. All of my official breakdowns, bets, long shot props, long shot parlays, to which we hit one literally just last week. Like a fuck ton of stuff you get, and I'm gonna give it away for free to one person right now. Let's get into it. All right, so let's go, boys. I got the Wheel of Fortune up now. I'm gonna spin it now, and let's see who it's gonna land on. It's slowing down. There's so many names I can't even see the names. It's landed on someone. Who's this? Marco Misowicz. Marco Mizaiwicz. Sorry if I didn't say a name right, but it doesn't matter, because you just won 1 month free to the Lucrative MMA Elite Zone. All you need to do is DM me on my social media. I will verify you by your YouTube channel, which I have in front of me saved right now, and I'll get you in for free, bro. So congratulations. All you need to do, guys, if you didn't win today, all you need to do to win next week is leave a good comment down below and you'll be automatically put in the draw to win next week's Wheel of Fortune to give you 1 month free. But don't worry, if you want the picks for this weekend, if you don't want to miss out on all of my bets this weekend, and by the way, I have a max bet this weekend. My max bets are at a 91% win rate. We've got 38 wins and only 4 losses, 38-4. So this weekend, we've got another max bet, 91% win rate. I'm very confident we hit this max bet. So if you don't want to miss out on that and you didn't win the Wheel of Fortune, you can, of course, sign up for that max bet. And just for 1 week of my bets or a month, if you want to join, go to lucrativemmabetting.com and sign up for 1 week or 1 month, and you're going to get everything. Full card breakdowns, my official bets, my max bet, my regional scene bets, my long shot props, long shot parlays, all of that good stuff. lucrativemmabetting.com for that. Let's make it 9 winning weeks out of the last 10. We are going for 9 winning weekends out of the last 10 this weekend at UFC Kansas City. And we got a max bet to do it. So I'm pretty confident, boys. Let's go. Hope you enjoyed the show. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Hope you make money this weekend, boys. Let's get it. Good luck on your bets.